So I'm really excited. I'm really excited about being able to go in a few weeks, and I'm happy to help you out with any questions that you may have, and I can share a bit about what it was like for me presenting, and show you some things like the app that they have for the conference. So of course, yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'll be here and happy to help.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so I guess I'll start by, just in case anyone keeps hearing these letters, NAEA, and really does not know what we're talking about. So NAEA is the National Art Education Association. So it's like a professional organization for art teachers all across the country. It includes both school art teachers in public schools and private schools and charter schools. And then it also includes teaching artists and museum educators and administrators and professors. And so basically just like everyone that's connected to art education in some way. So it's a professional organization, and so there are dues. You have to pay to be a member. It's a little bit cheaper when you're a student, and I think it's cheaper during your first year of teaching. And I believe that once you are teaching in a school, you can often get money from your school to attend the conference, I believe. And so while that part is annoying that they make you pay, you do get some good resources out of it. So there's a magazine that comes out with like current research in the field, that often has really good inspiration for like lesson plans and activities, just kind of ways of thinking about your practice as an educator. And the conference itself, which happens once a year, over the course of a few days in various cities, offers a lot of opportunities to meet people, both in your region, so meet other New York City educators and administrators, but also meet people from all around the country, which is really awesome, because people are teaching art in all sorts of different ways, and it's always great to get new ideas and perspectives. The
Stephanie,
other,
do you want me? Oh, I was just going to say, do you want me to talk a little bit about what the experience might be like of going to the conference?
yes, that
Or
would,
if you were on a roll, you sounded great, but I didn't want to
no,
make
no,
it
no,
feel as though you had to
jump
present
in.
about everything.
Jump in, that would be great.
Wonderful. Yeah, well, that was a very good introduction to what NAEA is. And as you mentioned, to go to the conference, it's smart to register and be a part of NAEA, and that magazine perk is actually really worth it. I love the magazine and I get a lot of ideas from it, and it's pretty inspiring. But going to the conference itself is an exciting thing. If you wanted to raise a hand or write in the chat to let us know if you're going, I see that Lindsay said that it's pending principal approval. I literally got principal approval about 3 hours ago. We officially confirmed it. So they can be kind of rough with the approvals, but you are doing professional development and learning, but I know how difficult it can be with substitutes, if you're teaching. So it is hard to always get that approval. The conference is usually held in big convention centers. This year, of course, it's in New York. So I haven't looked, I can look at the app right now, but it's probably like the Sheraton or the Hilton in Midtown. And they take over tons of different rooms. It honestly, I think at any given time, there might be about 10 or so different talks that are going on, maybe closer to between 5 and 10 different talks that are going on, and they're from art teachers, professionals, educators, artists from all over the country. And they definitely bring in international people as well. Usually the conferences run for, it's about 45 minutes. Some can be up to hour and a half. And some of them are ticketed events where you would pay for it. I have never done one where I've paid for it. I already feel like paying $270 to go is quite enough. Plus, I knew that the ones that I had presented and that Stephanie presented, which I got to see a number of years ago, they were free and those were phenomenal. So how much better could it be? But I will say, I think Lindsay in her comments said, oh, is it worth it? How do I make the most out of it? One hard thing is that it's definitely a crapshoot. Some of the presenters are really well seasoned educators. You might see some names of people that you might follow on social media or kind of like art education stars and write in the NAEA magazine or in different publications. And some are just regular teachers like me, and some of them are great performers. It's wonderful to have a lesson from an educator, especially one who's currently teaching. They can really break things down so well, and it can be useful. And other people, it's shocking that they are teachers. There could be people who are so bad at public speaking and about conveying information, or their content can be extremely dry, or it can be almost, watered down or dumbed down. You're like, oh my God, what is this? So one hard thing about going to the conference is knowing how to sniff out the more, the more meaningful ones. And I have to say, it's kind of tricky to know which exactly those are going to be, but definitely, look for keywords that speak to you. I saw, we have inquiry, looking, and inspiration. That sounds like an exciting one, but it also sounds really, really open-ended. So they do, I think if you click on each one, they have about a 30-word description. And I think Stephanie will probably be talking to you more about the application process where they talk about your blurb. But looking at this website, also, they have an app, which I enjoyed using myself. It can be great to find things that are useful to you. And I think something that's really beneficial is having friends or colleagues that you're going with. So either you can divide and conquer. If there are a few that are all at the 9 o'clock session and there were 3 you wanted to go with some people that would take good notes, who might go to an anti-racist one, while you go for a choice-based art one, and you guys can compare notes, or you go together and bounce ideas off of one another. So there are a lot of really great ways of tackling it. I'm sure I left a lot out, Stephanie, maybe that you wanted to add on to.
No, that was great. So yeah, definitely when I went in 2017, there were some, that were like super inspiring, and others that just kind of felt like one of the not so great classes that you might have taken in undergrad. And so that's definitely something to be aware of. It's also absolutely more fun to go with other people. And we can definitely like organize a little CCNY cohort group to kind of walk around the hotel with. Another benefit of going, which doesn't quite make up for the registration fee, is that there is a giant like hall of swag, where all of these different sorts of companies have set up booths. So this is the first convention that I had ever gone to, but it was like exactly like the ones that you would see on a TV show or in a movie, where it's just a lot of like different aisles with different booths, and some of them are for like educational software, and others are for like really nice watercolor sets that they want you to buy for your classroom. Well, saying it seems better than it really is. There's definitely some junk, but I also just really love pens. And so I had a great time. But yeah, so that's like one tangible thing that you can get in addition to really excellent knowledge. So I'll
Yeah,
talk a
don't get
little
your
bit.
hopes up too much. And I also see that Lindsay has a hand.
Yeah,
If you had a question, sorry.
Yes, thanks so much, guys. I'm very excited just thinking about it. I like swag. I like, free products. It's always fun. I've been to a couple conferences in the past I've been to SPE conferences, so photographic education. And I'm just sort of curious, like scale of the event and etiquette on if you're in a talk where you're like, I cannot be here anymore, I'm going to leave. What's the vibe on that? Like, can you leave and be like, I'm going to jump ship and go to a different talk and hope that gets better?
Yes.
Sort of like how crowded.
What I have learned, my big tip is try to sit towards near the door and in an exit row, or like an aisle seat, are really smart, so you can jump ship and really try to pay attention at the beginning and see, like, is this person going to be a doofus, and then run fast to your next one. Like, definitely for each one that you go to, have a backup. I can't tell you, I've walked out of as many as I've gone to. So definitely be prepared to jump ship. And it's the etiquette, it is what it is. They shouldn't, you know what? If you're getting people to leave, then that you should really reflect on what you've done with your life. And you shouldn't feel guilty and waste your money that you've paid for this convention just because you feel guilty and don't want to make someone feel uncomfortable or awkward. So I absolutely recommend that you have a backup for every time slot that you have, and hopefully they'll be near each other. Yeah, it is super expensive, Anna, and I think it's really worthwhile to make sure that you spend a lot of time. Please, if you are going, do not just wake up in the morning and walk in and be like, oh, I'll figure it out. Definitely utilize the website, make a schedule for yourself. The app has in the app, I think you can make your own little schedule, which is useful, or you can do the old fashioned way of writing it down or typing in the notes on your phone, but it can be very helpful to plan ahead. I wouldn't go without planning. You had asked something else before asking about jumping ship, I feel like. There's something else that I was like, oh yes, I'd like to touch on that. Were you asking about the scale of it, like how big it was?
Yes, scale. Sort of. I was just thinking in a room, if there's only 40 people in a room, then you're gonna be missed when you leave, or like they'll watch you. But I guess scale. So like
Yeah, so
people.
it depends on the rooms that they get. I would say I went to Stephanie's talk in 2017. It was packed and nobody left. They should have given Stephanie, Jackie, and Elle a bigger room for their presentation. So some of them get small rooms. I don't know exactly how they determine it. Somebody makes their own little predictions about it. So some rooms are tiny, some rooms are huge, and I've been to huge rooms where it's very empty and your when you leave, your absence is totally noticed. But again, you should never feel awkward about that. It's your own time, it's your own money, and you may realize there's something wrong. People don't take it too terribly personally. One other thing about the scale of the event, I will say, is that what I remember from New York is they do it between, I think, at least 2 hotels. So some of the stuff is across the street. So you're like, oh, there's this anti-racist one I want to go to that's in the hall 3 of the Hilton, but you're like, oh, if it's bad, I want to go to this like crafting one, a craft knit bomb one, but it's at the other hotel and it would take you like 7 minutes to walk. Oh, good to know, Stephanie. I think they probably had to scale down the size of it because fewer people were going to be going in person COVID stuff. So that's really good news. Thanks for doing that research about it. So that's one advantage we have this year is hopefully fewer in-person attendees, and there will be more opportunities to jump from talk to talk. The other thing we didn't totally mention, and Stephanie, maybe you were about to, it's about like the keynote speaker ones. I don't know. I have been a bad person. I haven't totally looked. I've forgotten who some of the keynote big speakers are, but they typically get famous artists to speak. I saw Chuck Close, Amy Sherald, Nick Cave. I forgot who. I've seen some other pretty good ones speak at keynote talks, and those are usually held in the largest ones, the ballrooms. And if you are interested in going, definitely go as early as you can. That's a good time to get in a front seat. They don't schedule a lot of stuff at the same time as that. So if you leave, it would be to get a bagel because there's nothing else to do during that same time.
I'm looking at who the notable people are. I know, so Vanessa German and Hank Willis Thomas. I know those are both artists. The other names I don't recognize. Lexi Hotai, Manuel Cinema, Vishavjit Singh, and Leslie Dill. So yeah, they might also be artists, or maybe they're educators.
Leslie Dill is a printmaker.
A printmaker, awesome.
And I think she taught at Pratt. I only know because some friends of mine interned with her, or were her studio assistants. So yes.
Cool. I interned with Leslie Dill, and she does printmaking, sculpture, textiles. She works with textiles too. And I think she was a professor at Smith College too. She's awesome. She's
Amazing.
amazing. So I
Oh,
think
cool.
her work is amazing. I think her talk is gonna be interesting if you wanna go there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Anna. I'm excited to see that too. My friends who assisted and interned with her really loved her and were super impressed with her work. And that's not rare if you're working for an artist. Usually you get disillusioned by them, but she is a really cool person.
Yeah. So yeah, so you can go to the website and like see the schedule of events, and like Will was saying, definitely worth it to kind of do a bit of looking it up ahead of time. I'll also mention, so yeah, apparently this year they have it all in the one hotel. Some of the sessions are quite short. They're like 25 minutes long, and then others are longer. There are like 5 minutes in between each time period. So like 8:30 to 8:55, and then the next round of things starts at 9. So while on the one hand, there's definitely the motivation to pack it in because we're all paying a substantial amount of money to go. You can also, I think, feel okay about like sitting a session out to like regain some energy. I remember like sitting on the floor in a hallway in the hotel, looking at all of the pens we had just collected and just kind of taking a breather. And then once we were rejuvenated, going into the next session.
Yeah, convention burnout is definitely real, Stephanie. And it's good to everyone. What before I went, everyone would say, I totally understand the impulse of what Stephanie just said, wanting to get your money's worth, but it is beneficial to take some time. Something that I loved about the conventions is meeting new people or reconnecting with people that you already know, or getting more deeply acquainted with acquaintances or people that you take classes with. So those moments in between, or maybe like sitting a session out and having a coffee with someone and debriefing about the talks they went to, can be more valuable than sitting through another TED talk. And so I feel like it's definitely don't overwhelm yourself. I would say maybe 3 to 4 sessions per day is more than enough. Even if you do 2, it's all right. Something I've noticed, and they make it so difficult when you're a working person, but the Thursday and Friday sessions usually tend to be a little meatier. They have more on those days. And it kind of thins out on Saturdays somehow. So if you're like, I'm going to go really hard on a day, maybe think about doing it on a Thursday or a Friday. There's a little more action that I feel like happens. Oh, I haven't heard about that. I think I can't speak for sure about vaccination. That's a really good question. I imagine that's something that's on the website.
I would assume that the
too.
Hilton requires that, because I think in New York, any indoor gathering.
I'm trying to remember when I bought my ticket. Like I've bought so many, theater tickets or other tickets lately. They're like, you're clicking this button, acknowledging that you have been vaccinated, and I feel like I had to click that button for buying my NAEA ticket, but I don't want to say yes or no. I do feel like that's something to. All right.
But then they check at the door.
It says that it is required. Proof of full vaccination must be presented in order to enter meeting spaces. Yeah, it's because of the state mandate, or no, the city mandate. Anyway, anticipate bringing your vax card, and masks will also be required. So
I imagine that's going to make things tricky. It's going to be tricky, especially if you're like dipping in and out and you just want to sneak into one. Like, oh my goodness, you're going to show your vaccination card. Who are you showing it to? I'm interested. Maybe it's just to enter the building.
I think it'll be to enter the building or to like to get in the elevator to go upstairs. And then once you're in there.
Because also to get in to the area where all the things are, you have to show your ticket that you've bought for the conference. You can't just walk in off the street anyway. So I think that it'll be there. It won't be in front of each session room. I can't imagine. I don't think they have enough staff to do that, but we'll see how that goes. I thought of one more thing, Stephanie. I don't want to talk too much.
No, go ahead.
one thing that I remembered, and I don't know if this will apply to anyone, but I think it's good to expand what you're looking at and things that you are interested in going forward as an educator, that might be outside the box. Something that I really loved making a community with are the LGBT educators. I started a GSA club at my school, and it was right around the time of one of my NAEA conferences, and I went to a couple really great supporting LGBT youth in art spaces talks, and I've gone for about 3 different sessions to ones focused on that topic, and it was really useful. So if there are any more specific things that you might be interested in, it's good to look for. That's just something that I know I'm really eager and looking forward to. So just broaden maybe what you look for in your talks.
I love that advice. That's good ideas. All right, so one other thing that I wanted to make sure to cover is just kind of talking a bit about applying to present. We chatted about this a little bit when we had like a town hall a couple weeks ago, and just the fact that lots of people apply and don't get accepted for any given year. Marit was saying that she has gotten rejected a bunch of times. And so it definitely feels like the kind of thing that like the panel that's deciding kind of has an idea in mind for what they're looking for in a given year. And I think that the best advice is just that for you to like think about something that you really enjoy doing in your classroom, enjoy thinking about or researching, and have that be the thing that like guides what your proposal is. There's always a different theme. Like I remember one year, or I think I remember one year the theme was like something more related to like technology and incorporating technology and like STEAM and stuff into the classroom. This year, they were talking a lot about social justice and anti-racism and like avoiding cultural appropriation in teaching. So there'll always be like a little bit of a lens that they want you to be applying through, but like chances are something that you are doing in your art room, you can find the connections when it comes time to actually deciding what you're going to apply for. So I thought that I would share the application that I put together for the conference this year, just to kind of not talk about it in the abstract and instead talk about what I actually did. So like I said earlier, I'm a teaching artist and I teach at museums. And so I do a lot of looking at art with kids, and that's like one of my favorite parts of the job. And so I decided to propose a session that would be about looking at art, but with young kids. So with elementary schoolers, because I feel like, I don't know, it's harder to have a conversation about a painting or a sculpture with like a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old than it is with a middle schooler or a high schooler. And so my goal was just to be specific, because I was trying to imagine like looking through that giant schedule of all of these sessions on everything about teaching. And I thought that if I gave it like an age group and like a specific classroom activity, that would make it more appealing or enticing for people who are attending. And then when it comes time to apply, I think the deadline is usually in June. So it'll be coming up somewhat soon. They give you a template, like different prompts with different word limits. And then you can either think of what your session would be like ahead of time, or you can use the prompts to kind of work out your ideas as you write, depending on what kind of thinker and planner you are. So last year it was asking for a brief program description, and that's what ends up going in the program for us all to read when we're deciding where we want to go. They ask you to describe the purpose of the presentation and the anticipated outcomes. So what will someone gain? What will someone learn from attending your session? And then they want you to talk about what you're actually planning to do. So if you're planning to, oh, bye, Lindsay. Thanks so much for coming. So yeah, if you're
Thanks,
going
Lindsay.
to have conversations in small groups, if you're going to be making art together, if you're going to be posing questions for people to discuss with each other. So kind of like when you're writing a lesson plan, you're like mapping out your planned activities. And then they want you to share why your topic is important, why it's relevant for elementary teachers or museum educators or whomever it is that you're planning to share for or share to. Impact on practice, you're indicating just a kind of, I don't know, these two seem pretty similar to me, but like, why is this important for people to know? Why are there techniques that you are sharing, good techniques to use as an art teacher? And then lastly, and this was a question that I didn't remember from the last time I had applied, but they want to know, how is your presentation going to push back against cultural appropriation? So how is it going to be respectful to whoever's art you're sharing? Which I think is very important, because we all know those examples of lessons that are very superficial and like don't give students a chance to really get to know work on a more deeper or holistic or nuanced level. And so I thought it was nice that they are going ahead and asking that question ahead of time. But yeah, so I think that if either, whether or not you attend this year, I think it's a very cool experience to apply and present like at least once. And like Will mentioned, when I presented in 2017, I did it with 2 classmates from City College. And that was really nice, both because we got to work on the application together. None of us had to write the whole thing by ourselves. And then also because when we were nervous to present to a room of convention attendees, we each had 2 other people to hang out with and rely on. So definitely thumbs up for applying in a group and presenting in a group, or with a partner, or by yourself if you would like to do it by yourself. Yeah, does anyone have any questions about applying or presenting or choosing a topic to present about? Anything like that? Oh, oh yeah, I can. Paula, do you mean on that document itself?
Yes, please.
I can share again.
Thanks.
I'm so glad that they're asking you about cultural appropriation. I'm glad that that's the theme of this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see your talk too.
Thanks. They gave me like 8:30 a.m. or something on Thursday. So it'll be a fun commute to Midtown, but I guess it's teachers, so we're all used to waking up at like 5 in the morning.
It's late for me. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I could jump in for a second to talk. I've also applied. It's so
Yeah.
funny, Stephanie. I don't know if I told you, I actually applied. I took the same advice that she's saying, and I applied with 2 friends, with Jackie, actually, who you did your first presentation with. She and I and another colleague of ours applied and were accepted, but didn't present because of COVID, about middle school and how. Oh, I guess, yeah. Did you want to scroll down a little so Paula can see? Talking about middle school and the challenges of it. So it was really smart that I noticed that Stephanie put some very good keywords in the description, and making it things that the people who look through the applications think that it will be useful for educators. And definitely, talking about artwork is one. It's a key word and a key thing that's always really important for people. So I think you did a good job of making sure that it's something that's going to be relevant and useful to everyone. So it's clear that you wrote it in a way that seems appealing to the people who look through the applications, and of course also to the prospective attendees.
Thanks. I'll just kind of leave it here in the middle, and then I'll scroll down to the bottom of it in a moment. But yeah, definitely, I was thinking about those keywords when I was writing it. Yeah, so like the things that you all hear in grad classes, or that you come across if you are reading like articles or research or lesson plans, like culturally responsive or learner-centered, things like that. I think, yeah, they just kind of, they stand out because they are part of what teachers and educators are currently talking about and thinking about. I feel like I wanted to say one other thing. Oh, I also, the biggest challenge for me is word counts, and just getting things down to the length that they ask you to make them for the application. So it's definitely an exercise in writing in what might not be your natural style. But I will say that we in the art ed department are always here to help brainstorm, and we can like set up either virtual or in person, depending on what the world is like in May. But we can set up times to get together and like brainstorm topics, or go over each other's rough drafts of our applications and proposals. But no one should feel like you need to go in blind if applying is something that you're interested in. There's definitely support and resources available. And we would be very excited and happy to help.
Like Stephanie, I first presented, I think it was in 2017, I guess it was the same year. So I went to in the spring. So they ask you to send your application almost, I don't know, about 9 months in advance. And so
it's super early.
it's crazy. Like you just catch your breath after seeing NAEA and like, ooh, I could do one on this. And then like, okay, the things are due tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, what in the world? And so they, City College held a really great workshop for people who were interested in presenting, and I went, and it was really nice. There was a big group of us. I would say there were about 20 people. Did you attend this one, Stephanie?
Probably. Yeah, we were probably there at the same time.
Yeah, and it was like a big discussion with a few professors, and Marit was there, and a lot of students who were interested. And so I think Marit even groups people together who had similar interests, and we sat and had our laptops and typed all together and had writing buddies. And if I hadn't had that experience, there's no way I would have presented, and it really encouraged me to do it. And I had people look over my proposal. And so that was a great thing. And I'd encourage Marit and Stephanie to think about doing that again this year in the early spring, sometime in April or May. And I'd be very happy to be part of that as well.
Yeah.
But it's useful to talk with people.
Yeah. And I guess I also kind of want to mention, just because we saw this briefly when I was like scrolling through the schedule, but all the different sorts of things that people are presenting on. So some of them are very broad topics like anti-racism and art education. Others are really specific, like using quilting to tell stories with fifth graders, right? Like Will, I think that you did one about YouTube and using YouTube in the classroom.
Yep.
The one that I did before was about zines. So there's really a range of like, here's a specific project that I did that either worked or didn't work, and here's what I learned about it, all the way up to like, how are we good art teachers, right? There are also sessions that like I went to one that was about like the intersections between art education and art therapy. So there are also ones that are a little bit more like philosophical versus things that you can like apply immediately the next day in the classroom. Which is all to say, A, there's just like a ton that you get to learn if you do end up attending, and B, like basically anything you can think of, there's probably going to be an audience for it.
And they also they have a lot that's geared towards pre-service people. I'm not sure how many people here are only taking classes and are in teaching currently, but there's a lot that are specifically geared towards pre-service people, and it's great to get to meet other people who are in art ed programs in other cities or states or countries. So that's really a nice thing that they have. Another good reason to apply is if you get it and like you teach at a school, the school will send you. They flew me to Seattle. I got to stay in a nice hotel. We got to stay in a nice hotel in Boston. I had tickets for Minneapolis. So that's also, it's like, it's a free vacation and your school is like, wow, you are so cool. You are doing what? So that's also pretty exciting because I am still me and the other art teacher are the only ones who've ever presented at a conference ever at my school anyway. People don't do that a lot. So it's kind of a cool bragging rights thing that you have as well.
You can put
Awesome,
it on
Paula.
your resume and have a little like presentations section, which to me feels very fancy.
Oh yeah.
So we have a few more minutes. I know that at the start, someone had asked about scholarship information. I don't know, Will, if that's something that you have more direct knowledge about. The scholarships that are on the website, like through NAEA, are pretty narrow. I think that like the main way to save money is that if you are a student or early career, it is a little bit cheaper. But I'm just gonna look for an actual link that I can share about scholarships. And then if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to unmute or drop them in the chat and we will see what we can answer.
What's hard with saving money on this thing? Pre-COVID, it could be like you could show a ticket that somebody else got, and if they couldn't go, then you could like split a ticket and one person go the other day. But now if you have to show your vaccine card and your ID, they'll be like, wait, this ticket says Stephanie and you're Olivia on your vaccine card. What is this? But people used to do that a lot where like, oh, I could go a little bit, let's switch off and switch our tickets and then tell each other how it went. But that probably won't work so well this year.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Who knows what it'll be like. So yeah, it looks like, so at least one of the scholarships, which is the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion scholarships, that one, there are 20 of those. And it looks like applications for those closed in January. There are 4 scholarships for first-time attendees. So they exist, there just aren't a lot of them, considering like how big the convention is. That said, that's an attitude that will guarantee you don't get a scholarship versus if you just go ahead and apply and see what happens. But I think that like Will was saying, schools can often subsidize at least some aspects of attending. There's potentially ways to be a little, I was gonna say scammy, but let's go with creative for getting to be a part of it. So if you are wanting to be a part of it, and the registration fee is an obstacle and you're comfortable, definitely shoot us an email and we'll see what we can do. This year there's also a virtual component, so there's in-person and virtual sessions, and I'm not sure exactly how the virtual stuff is working, but that's also maybe a way that content might be a little bit easier to share without needing to pay the registration fee. Awesome.
Were there any other, yeah,
I have a
if there
question.
were any more questions, yeah.
So if you're, I haven't really checked when is the convention? What are the dates?
March 3rd through 5th. It's coming up pretty soon. Yeah, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, March 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And it's pretty much all day during those days.
So what do usually do teachers do? Like they just take personal days off, or okay, like the schools must understand that this is going on, right? Or what happens?
It is. So, Paula, welcome to schools. Congratulations, by the way, on your assistant teaching position.
Thank
What
you.
can be so, yeah, what can be so tricky with schools is some administrators are really excited that you're interested in extending your knowledge and getting more professional learning time, and they'll happily grant you those days. I think there's like a professional learning days, so it's not taken out of. I see that you said you were at a charter school, and I can only speak for public schools. But it's that you're still in attendance, but you are doing professional development meetings. You have to get that ultra approved. But sometimes the staff the admin says, we don't think this is valuable, and
Oh, wow.
we're not going to support you going, and we can't get a substitute, and we won't let you go. That that happens. I mean, there's so many terrible things happen at school, so you should be prepared for it. But
Okay.
if it's something that you're excited to do, you should make a plea for it. And I think on the website they do have a thing like suggestions or reasons you can tell your administrators if they're apprehensive about allowing you to go, usually for a really like out of state people to like pay for their flights there. But I think they do have like a list of what are the great benefits of going,
Mhm.
aside from like you'll be a better art teacher. But I can only speak for my experience, and I've only worked at one school for a long time, and they've been very good about and understanding about my attending.
Great.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, Will, I
the
think I
chat.
found that letter. So this is a letter to try to get your principal to just pay for your membership. But it probably has good language for
Hmm.
yeah, for covering other
Okay.
requests as well.
And just quickly on, I know we're over the time now, and people want to go to bed, but the payment by principals, NAEA does not accept purchase orders, and that's one of the only ways that school can use school funds to pay for your tickets. So my principal paid for my flights, my airfare. I think they comped some of my food allowance, but they could not pay for my ticket to the show. They're like, obviously we'd love for you to pay. We'd love to pay for you, but they couldn't do it. So that's really hard. Have a good time in Woodstock, Angie. That's my hometown.
Wow.
Oh, no way. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah. Oh, it's a lovely town. I'm sorry you'll miss the convention, but you could probably try to watch some of the remote things that they're doing.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Yay. All right. Well, thank you all again. Thank you so much, Will. It was really awesome to get to have your voice be a part of this. And yeah, if there are any other questions, send us an email, post on Slack. We are around. And as we get even closer to the convention than we are now, we'll share information, most importantly for our CCNY happy hour, which we used to have at a bar near the hotel that had a mechanical bull. But it seems like COVID has shut down the mechanical bull bar. So we'll need to
No.
find another location.
Oh, I
which is
love that
very
place.
sad. So there'll be that, but also we'll just share information about like teaming up to navigate the conference together and attend sessions together and share what we learn and what we find. And yeah, we hope to see lots of you soon at the convention or at other events like this in general. All right, thank you all so much for spending the evening with us, and have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Stephanie.
Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.
Thanks everyone for coming.